Hey guys, sorry about that. One of the boys forgot their medicine and I had to run to school and oh my gosh. Yeah, between the death of Shower Poof for great dishonor against Fry and you know, forgetting medicine, we have just had a chaos morning, but it's life with 6 children. It is what it is. You go with the flow. It's it's life. And we are here now. We are here now. And let me see. I've got this going. I've got that. And sorry about the delay, but let's get going. So this is day 3. We are still behind, but we'll never catch up, but we are here. Let's get going.
I plan on resting, but how long your videos are because I can get some witnesses lined up from the defense case in chief. 2 of them are on Zoom, and frankly, having them later is easier.
Good morning, Jamie.
Okay.
So I need to know from this.
Well, she told me yesterday that she expected to rest
Fry is
by the
playing
end of the
with
day.
Thor
So if the end of the
somewhere.
day means 5 and that leaves another
No,
hour
that's
of
why I'm a little
testimony,
later.
then you could do.
Nothing is worth a speeding ticket and having to explain, "No, your honorness, I'm rushing home to be with people on the internet."
Right?
No, it's a fully clothed stream, your officerness. I promise.
Be those 2 witnesses.
So I will tell those witnesses to be available.
No
at 5
speeding ticket.
Eastern, which will be 3 or 2 years.
That's fine, but let me confirm with the jurors that they're available because anytime I drop on them a change in the schedule, I always make sure that it's something they can accommodate. Okay? All right, so that's the plan then. All right,
I'm going to start with publishing some evidence this morning. So
Okay.
if we could just have the TV moved and then.
you need it moved up? Okay, all right, Mark, can you take care of that? And then when you're ready, you can bring the jurors out.
Okay. Where did we leave off? I forgot.
We left off on day 2. The state had just introduced, I believe, several of the
Oh, yeah. Okay. The videos.
the videos, but not. Yes, Thor, I love you very, very much. We are having Fryberto, I love you both. This is just going to
Look
be
at
a
him.
day.
Oh, it's so bad.
This is Fry, not today. Seriously? I have the sprayer. I have the water bottle.
Mhm.
Don't be a jerk to Thor. You know he gets right back at you.
All right, for any folks that are on Zoom for the court's morning docket, the morning docket has concluded. So if you were here for an 8:30 hearing, your matter has now been concluded, so you can go ahead and sign off. If you're here for the trial in State versus Farrader, you can remain logged in, but otherwise, if you're here for the morning hearings, you can go ahead and sign off. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, can't be, so hopefully everything is learned. All right, so all sides ready to proceed? All right, Mark, you may bring the jurors out. We can get started.
Well, you know. Well, Jamie lived my teenage years because I was so funny story. My eldest daughter had to interview about my teenage years, and she's like, "What is the weirdest or what was the craziest thing you did as a teenager?" And I was like, "Well, I asked my mom if I could stay out really late to be one of the first ones at the release of the Clone Wars." And she's like, "Mom, you're really?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." I was like, "I stayed
Oh
out past midnight, and we were the first ones in the theater."
my
And
God,
she's
that's
like, "Mom, you are such a terrible nerd." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I didn't claim to be really cool."
yeah. What if I told you that?
Yeah, I was like, "Look, I was a nerd in high school. It never changed, but I got to see, the Clone Wars first." And she's like, "That's the most dramatic thing you did?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And I let my all of my friends go in my Chrysler New Yorker, and it had blue velour interior.
Oh my
I
God.
looked like a pimp. I mean, I didn't my car looked like a pimp-mobile. I did not
Did you dress up or were you just dressed normal?
I was dressed in my normal uniform of a giant baggy t-shirt and a flannel. I
Okay.
still contend I was ahead of this fashion curve, god dang it.
Oh my God, I love it.
But yeah, seriously. She's like, "That's the most crazy thing you did?" And I was like, "Well," I was like, "You're feel free to embellish it and do whatever you want." Like, maybe I was fleeing from the cops and then hid in yeah,
The movie theater and just happened to be there first.
yeah, that's what had
All
happened.
rise. All right, everyone may be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, welcome back this morning. I hope everyone had a good evening, rest, and had the opportunity to rest and relax. I want to I told you at the beginning, if we had any issues with the scheduling, I would let you know at the earliest opportunity once I became aware of it. And unfortunately, I need to let you know that we are not running on schedule as we had planned. We are running a little bit behind. So I'm going to do a couple things to try to get us back on schedule. The plan today would be to go to 6 o'clock, but I won't do that on the day that you get here without making sure that all of you can stay to 6 today. And secondly, I would start tomorrow at 8:30 instead of 10, and go to 6 tomorrow. The idea being that that would create at least a reasonable possibility we would be done with the completion of the submission of the evidence. Unfortunately, that means that we probably will not get to closing arguments tomorrow, that we would not get to closing arguments at the earliest until Tuesday. I don't know if Monday is a holiday for all of you, but it's a holiday for the court, so we would not start back on Monday. We would start back on Tuesday. So the first question I have for you, is there anybody that has a logistical issue that you could not stay to 6 today? If you do, then we won't stay to 6. We'll end at 5 like we had planned. And I see someone,
I
you
would
have a
raise the
problem
hell
staying to
my
6?
hand.
All right, so I told you at the
I am
beginning, you people are the most
$15 for this
important
crap.
people in this
Hell
courtroom,
no.
and I meant that. So if you've got a problem, I'm not going to inconvenience you at this point.
Hiya,
We'll finish
Atheist,
at the normal
Ken.
time
Hi,
that you
Bobby. Hi,
expected
Eris. Hi, Rabbit. Hi,
at
Little
5 today.
Peanut.
How about having
Hi,
time to prepare for tomorrow?
Eris.
Any issue
Bobby, this way
being
up.
here at 8:30 and going to 6 tomorrow?
Thank you again, everyone, for being so graceful with my chaos. Life is chaos. What can you do?
Mhm.
To
I
try to
don't
squeeze out as much time as we can.
believe
All right.
a little low.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Well,
because
I
the court
turned
talking, I couldn't barely hear you, and I was like,
well, we turned the court way up and then I turned us down, but now the court's too loud. It
I was
just
trying Listen to you.
Can't
So
win
that's,
for losing.
that, I'm the bearer of the bad news for that. So let me tell you the other thing, that in terms of the closings, and there may be some submission of evidence, you need to plan for next week of being, required to be here, I would say at least Tuesday and maybe Wednesday or Thursday, because I don't know how long deliberations are going to take. But what I do know is that under the current plan,
Roberto.
the expectation would be that you would get the case sometime on Tuesday. And then you would start deliberations, and we never know how long deliberations are going to take. And the only thing I need to work out is whether I would be available on Wednesday or we would go Tuesday, Thursday of next week. And I won't know the answer to that until tomorrow. I'll let you know. So, but at a minimum, you need to kind of plan that you could be on call for me Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. And this is one of those unfortunate times where you fall into that 10% that run over the original estimate, but it happens. And I apologize that it's happened, but it's something that we have to deal with. And as I told you at the very beginning, once we start, we have to finish. So I do ask in advance for your understanding, and certainly don't hold it against anybody, one side or the other,
We are
because
about
we
to
are
be tried
going over. You can
and
hold it
smacked.
against me. I'm fine. I'm a big boy. You can hold it against me, but certainly don't hold it against either the state or the defendant in this case, okay? All right, everybody understand that? So we'll go to 5 today, like the original schedule, and tomorrow we'll start at 8:30 and then go to 6, and you'll get your normal morning breaks, okay? All right? I know I'm not seeing any smile. Well, I am seeing one smile, so I appreciate that. Okay, so with that, is the state ready to continue? Anything else you want me to? Yeah.
Frybert, come here, you ding dong. You're getting too big for me to put on my lap. You were supposed to be a lap puppy.
Aw,
I ordered a lap puppy.
I know.
Your dogs are like, we too would like to be lap puppies, but we're 170 pounds. So,
Yeah, they're just.
sir, stop biting the hand that literally feeds you. We've talked about this.
They were.
All right, so it was brought to my attention. I'm aware that one of our jurors has the
Pause.
flight leaving. When is the flight?
No.
Tuesday evening, so you'd be out Tuesday. So we will speak with you and address that. I mean, we knew it was a risk, and we didn't anticipate that it was a risk that was going to cause much of an issue, but we will address your situation at the appropriate time. And I'm not going to force you to change your plans. I can tell you that. It may alter how I handle coming back, but we'll deal with that. So don't fret or worry about that situation, okay? Unless you can tell me that your plans could be changed, and if you tell me that and it's not a big deal, then I would consider, but I'm not putting pressure on you to do that. Okay, so why don't you check on that and you'll let me know, and then at the appropriate time, we'll figure out what to do with your situation, okay? All right. Thank you for raising that with me, Ms. Coakley, because I was aware that that was one issue we were going to have to deal with. All right, so at this point, all sides ready to continue with the trial this morning? All right, Ms. Murad, Mr. Wahid, you ready? All right, who's going to,
Yeah, no pressure, but also
okay, all right, so the state is
cancel your
publishing
family
Exhibit
vacation.
17. This is a document that's already in evidence, and you're very familiar now with the publishing process. It's the process by which they display to you the items that have been put in the evidence. So any objection to that? All right, that'll be fine, Mr. Wade. And just to clarify, Mr. Wade, these are Exhibits 4 and 7 that were entered during the cross-examination of FF. Yeah.
We haven't tried a bath yet. I'm sure that'll be an exercise in
And while they're
funlarity.
doing that,
And I will
Ms. Coakley,
Videotape that.
just for purposes of the court managing the mid-morning break, how long are the publishing? If there's any one that's going to go 30 minutes, an hour, just give me some estimate so I can manage the breaks.
And just because the whole exhibit is longer, we're gonna break it up part now and then part two.
Okay, so I typically don't like to go more than an hour, hour and a half. So if it gets up to one of those stopping points, let me know. We'll take a break at the appropriate time.
Oh, I love Turner and Hooch. It's one of my favorite movies. I always cry at the end.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh my gosh, we have to do a watch party.
Is
It's
it
the
sad?
best.
Something happened to the dog. Oh my god, I don't know if I could handle
Okay. Okay. Something bad happens to the dog, but then there's puppies. So, yes, like
Oh.
spoiler alert for a fairly old movie.
A movie from like the 80s, right?
Yeah, but then there's puppies.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a giant, huge mastiff, and he gets into everything and destroys all of the things. But then he's a big old cute puppy dog.
No. They're not bad in the bathtub. They're just a pain to get in there because they run away from me. And they had blood on them and it was something stinky and they were like running and all over, I'm trying to get them out of the house. And then but I did find the best trick is if you put peanut butter in like the tub, like on the side, they'll just like lick
Good
it
idea.
and then they don't bother you. And I just have to get them. But it's just like
I
once the
am
one
going to use
sees
that.
the one go in the bathroom, the other one like hides and it's a whole thing. It's
Now I'm going
just funny though.
This trial has been canceled. We're just going to all watch Turner and Hooch. Let's be honest. It's a Turner and Hooch kind of day. Watch party tonight. I don't care what we had going. We've made a decision.
We actually do
Executive.
have a movie night tonight. Funny.
I'm joking. I have no power to change things anywho's. Don't listen to me.
Well, you should come
Let's
hang
get
out.
this trial going.
Oh my
That's a
God.
good idea. Tonight might be bath night, and I may or may not be filming. I'm just saying because
Will be
I'm sure
banned.
it will be an exercise in funlarity. There might be cursing words
Thank you,
and an
Mr. Wahi.
emotional support vodka.
Oh, David.
And Your Honor, just for record purposes, every video that we begin, I will be reading off the date for that video so it can be identified.
So that the record's clear.
Yes.
All right, I'll look to you to attend to that.
Okay, Your Honor.
All right.
So right now, the state will be publishing State's Exhibit 17, specifically January 6th, 2022.
And, okay, so jurors able to, the TV's close enough, you're able to see everything fine? All right. You may proceed.
Good morning. Head to the bathroom. Come back.
Hiya, Irish.
Hey, Irish.
Hey, I've always said as long as you pretend to be a good kid in public, I'm okay with it. As long as you pretend like I raised you right in public, we'll be okay.
Mhm.
Friberto, you are, or Thor, come on now. You are not a pirate. When people ask why I don't get anything done, would you like to see what I live with?
Yep. I agree. Me.
Fry is now like, I would like to try to do that, and I am going to try to do that. So when Mo comes in with an eye patch, Y'all know what happened, okay?
What is this? Can they at least narrate it for us if they're not going to show us it?
Yeah, I wish they would, but of course they don't. Why not? That would be logical.
Yeah.
Get too close, let's go.
I like that idea. Irish, that's a great saying. You can see my room is chaos. We are doing construction everywhere, so my room becomes the catch-all room. Thor would still ship Fry to Abu Dhabi if he could.
Ready? You ready? Can you replay? Will you turn up your air during the day? We don't? Okay. Did you want to throw your blanket on there and make your bed nice? Are those dirty clothes? Okay. So put whatever you need to put in here. Put your dirty ones and dirty ones. Yeah. So this needs to be right here. Got it? Yep. Okay. Do that a little bit.
I feel your pain, Irish.
Okay.
And Mr. Mo still has to be told that there's not a laundry fairy that picks up his clothes off the floor. So I don't know if it's just boys or just every person. Oh, Bobby. Oh, Bobby. Oh, dear. I'm trying to save you from a snapped episode of your own.
Oh.
Suppose you're doing homework on here, huh? The whole time, the last couple hours? Suppose homework.
This is a trick question, children. When parents ask a question in that tone of voice, uh, they done know the answer. Jamie, have you experienced that?
And
If your parent comes in and says, "Hey, you've been doing your homework in here the whole time. This
Uh-huh.
whole entire time?"
yeah. Oh, they know the answer already.
Yeah, just like I go up to Griffin and I say, "Hey, so this writing on my wall, it says Griffin.
Who did that?
Who did that?" It's like being a lawyer. You know the answer to the question.
Yeah.
I mean, again, is there a way you can approach it without being antagonistic that could have a better impact rather than immediately putting the child's back up and starting an antagonistic fight? Yes.
Mhm.
But has it happened that Mo has gone in, after the 80th time of asking someone to do something with that tone of voice? Yes. I call it the sarcastic questioning method, but yes. Murphs. Good morning, AC Wildflower.
Homework, right?
Oh,
Any games? Are
Lord.
you blocking it so you can't try to be like on the camera? Are you doing that? Strategically? Let's go. Are you lie? You in there? No. Let's go.
What are you eating? Let me see. Come here. Puppy. What do you have in your mouth? What do you have in your mouth? Oh, is that a Lego? How about no? No Legos. No, this is your pig. You can have your pig.
You talk to your dog just like I do too. I'm like, oh, you're chewing on this pillow? Oh, that's so cute.
Well, again, I can yell at him, and all that does is start more aggression, or I can try to diffuse the situation.
This stuff's out of here.
Because
Give me that.
I'm not the smartest puppy.
Yeah. So tasty
Like,
though, Mama.
well, German Shepherds are supposed to be really smart, I read last night, but I don't know how much German Shepherds he's got.
Cam, put that on pause, please.
No, not my skirt. Remember, the skirt is not the enemy.
I love his curly tail.
Oh, I know. I say that to my kids all the time. I said, nice mommy asks at least 43 times, and then mean mommy asks about 53 times, and
All
then
right, Ms. Black, you
Samuel
may
L.
proceed.
Jackson mommy asks about 3 times. And then Snakes on a Plane mommy asks once. And you really want to listen. Not the, no. No. This is your toy. Good morning, Mimsy. Believe me, I know. Hey, no. No boot. No. Sit. No. Sit.
Now publishing January 7th, 2022.
You want attention, you don't bite.
Sure.
I am not sure. I sent MLS an invite, but he is doing actual lawyerly work, so it might be that he is not able to join us. But next time I catch up with him, and Nicholas is also, involved in lawyerly work. It's like they have jobs and such. So I will ask them the next time what it is a co-defendant or former co-defendant is allowed to do to prepare for their case. Would you stop? I understand I bought these Uggs on eBay pre-owned, but they're still serviceable. I'd like them to survive. You already broke a bath poof. I think you've defended your honor today, sir. Yes, David is dealing with the samurai and the Yakuza, as he usually does in Michigan. Big present.
Yeah, we got gangs of samurai.
All right. Oh, now you do the sit because you're getting a treat?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
You are such a ding dong. Of course they make the plastic hard to get. No, not stand. Sit. I'm not above bribery. That's a good sit. Sit, not stand. There you go. No, that way. There you go.
Morning. Good morning. Let me get you, get your clothes, get your food, get it going. Okay? Grab your clothes. It is dirty.
Well, yes. I need to get one.
Yeah, they are nice. They last forever.
Well, so the problem is I keep getting tennis balls to throw, and he's sort of got come back and drop it to me. Sort of. I have to fight it for it. But the boys keep taking the tennis balls to play with. So I have bought 9 bajillion tennis balls and I can never find them. Like, would you stop stealing the dog's toys? Those are not your toys. Those are the dog's toys. I feel like I shouldn't have this have to have this conversation. And yet I do. Oh, thank you, Pixie. I mean, they're not as talkative in the morning as I try to be with my kids, but I will say my teens in the morning, it runs the gambit between, hey, mom, I need you to pick me up from here, here, and here, to grunts in the morning because they're not particularly morning people. So this is not sounding alarming to me too much yet. as far as kind of the lack of talking to each other and things. I mean, but it would be nice if we could see them.
Where's your food? Give me your food. Roll that like the other ones.
What are you doing, Cat?
Between your animals, my animals, the children, it's just been a day today.
She's like a big old cat, and she just gets a bug up her butt sometimes. She's just knocking down all my stuff on the desk.
What? What? Yes?
What are those? Oh, they're in there. There's a- okay. You like that?
I like it. I think that taking off the network makes it much better. I think making law simple is good. It's simple, it's catchy, it's good.
I like it.
It's also not redundant with the Michigan law show. But I mean, the other one was good too. Crap. I mean, they were both good. The end.
The end.
Is that a kid crying or a cat?
I know it sounded like a cat. You know, come on, narrate this for us or something. Like, what is even happening?
No, let's go. We're gonna go do that. No, what's wrong there? He's gonna eat.
If this is what you have,
No.
sounds bad to me.
Okay.
Who don't know what's going on, so.
Hello, excited utterance. You're awake. Yes. We are talking about David's name and his alleged samurai connections. Not confirmed. Well, I mean, if these long videos are what they're showing, if this is their hard-hitting evidence, then this, in my opinion, helps them. If this is what they have as I mean, unless I hear I don't know.
Well, they had said there was nothing physical going on. It was just a lot of, which, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that would be damning to me, is like showing the physical abuse.
Yeah, I mean, if they're doing stuff like saying, "Hey, you freaking idiot," or, you know, "The boy ain't right," that kind of thing, constantly berating him, constantly saying, "Hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z," or Z, depending on where you are. Though I don't know why you add an ED at the end. We will have to figure out and investigate later. But it's also
It's, you want to say it's, but to me, it's still the question of, is it like criminal? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
criminal. Yeah, it's
yeah,
not, it's mean, it's horrible, but is it criminal?
yeah. I mean, I guess for me, and maybe it's just a different, maybe it's you and I looking at how our parents raised us, where maybe our parents were a little more gloves off and other people's parents were much more gentle, I guess.
Oh, I
Uh,
agree.
be,
Because it
be,
is everybody's.
because, because uh, look, I am not saying that I would still be in a coma if I did what this child did, but y'all might be visiting Mo in the ICU, okay?
No,
Because stealing people's credit cards, taking, a weapon into school, running away, giving my little baby brother a beer, uh, my mom was old school kinda
so were
stuff.
so were my parents. So
So
yeah.
and I think that's what we're running into is that sometimes yes, I know the day is Jody Day, so no shame if you guys no, and I understand atheist's point. I'm it's such a gray area because I understand both sides. I really do. I can see both sides and I can argue both sides, and that's what I have a problem with is if I can argue both sides and see both points and argue both sides, I wonder what the jury is going to come down on.
Mhm.
And I don't think they handled it correctly at all. I think that they should have reached out for more significant inpatient care if they were this worried.
Mhm.
I think that they were overwhelmed over their heads and they should have reached out for help when he was younger, before he entered puberty and this became a much bigger thing.
Mhm. Oh, I agree. The room thing is really hard to get past, but it's also like he wasn't being malnourished. He was still going to school. He was still able to, you know, again, they testified that the door was not always locked. So it wasn't like it was a constant. So there's just there's so many gray areas, like you said.
Well, and I think we're running into when the dichotomy between what the mainstream media has sold us about this case and then the actual facts.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what's coming out with a lot of these trials. Oh, well, Sal, if that's the case, then I'll just go home now.
Well, I mean, they're always, they know what they're talking about. So we might as well stop streaming.
I'll go just finish laundry. Thank you for stopping by, Excited Utterance. And you guys remember that today is Jody Day, so no shame if you want to switch between streams. It's Jody Days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the misstep we're coming. uh, They did deprive him of his freedom. They did, lock him in. And I think that's where w- so would we have been okay if they gave him corporal punishment, if they, whooped his butt, basically? Would we have been okay with that,
Well,
or would they still have been in the same situation but for child abuse?
and how would people feel if they just let the kid go to jail for the things that he was doing? Because the thing
Yeah, I
is
guess.
very criminal. I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's so crazy.
Well, yeah, I guess that's where I'm running into, of the things that they no bite. Well, yeah, and that's the other thing when David brought up the perspective of, you know, if you lock your door at night, then technically aren't all your children locked in the house? Now, for fire safety, I think, again, they could have bought they look particularly affluent. They could have bought a house that could have accommodated all of them and nipped this all in the bud. So there's so many things converging on this case. You have the mainstream media that hyped this up because, you know, we go into this case thinking he was locked up 24/7.
In a box. When
Yeah,
I
no food and
I
water.
thought a box, like a
Yeah, no food and water, kind of, you know, like some of the really horrific cases that we've seen.
Mhm.
And then, you know, we're starting to hear the facts of the case and and it doesn't excuse what they did, but the facts aren't what we were sold in the media. And then it's also just it's different things and how far is too far? What are we doing? It brings up a lot of
Well, yeah, because we start running this slippery slope of these cases where this government is now getting their hands in things that do we really want that? Because do we want the government being in charge of our parenting? Do we want, you know what I mean? Do we want the government in charge of, well, if your kid does this, then you're going to be liable?
yeah.
Like
And
this is
and
where this is the stuff. This is the only reason that I'm very like taken back by this, and it's not as
well, that and I mean, I come from a family where, we uh, when our house was being constructed, we all lived in a hotel room for a while. Would that be considered child abuse because we all had to live in one room? It's just, again, it's not it's not excusing their behavior. They made so many missteps for the bajillion and 27,000 hundred trillionth time. They made bad choices
But are there bad choices
worth 40 years.
for 40 years, like basically a life sentence? So that's where my perspective comes from when I voice my opinion on your channel. It's just
Yeah.
is it
Yeah, we're not trying to excuse what they did. We're just trying to, again, say, look, like I said, my mom was gloves off, like, get the fly swatter kind of mom.
Mhm.
No offense, mom, I love you, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So it's i- it's hard to, and again, everyone's parents, you might have had a very gentle childhood, and that is so awesome. And I'm so proud of, look, I wish I had a gentler childhood. I did not. So it's just difference in parenthoods and it's just different. So let's watch these videos that we just hear moving boxes and such.
Pretty much.
I am gonna go to 1.25 if no one's worried. I atheist, I am not disagreeing.
No.
We are just trying to make sense of everything and really just slam on mainstream media for the most part. So if 1.25 is too fast for anyone, let me know. Yeah, I really wasn't wanting to cover this, but it didn't look like anyone else was covering it. So like I said, I have a hair trigger for kids, so this wasn't one, but the boy is still alive, so that was really the only thing that let me cover this. Christine, you are fine, Christine. I just want you to spend your energy on building your own channel. And I think once your channel starts to grow, once you put your energy in your channel, you will find that you get more invites because your own channel has its own energy. I really do think that.
That's what it's about.
I think once people see what you're doing and see what you're about, because right now we don't really know who you are as a person so much, but I think once we see what you're doing and how you're doing it, we can definitely get to know you and know who we're inviting on. So
Mhm.
you are fine, sweetie. Eh, From what I'm gathering, Irish, it seemed like it was at night and when they were going to be gone for long periods, but it has not been totally clear.
I know they testified to mainly being at night because he was
Yeah.
known to run away and do things he shouldn't be doing. So they do it at night. And then Paige asked about they have not testified to any physical abuse. I didn't hear anything. And then also malnourishment. No, they testified he was getting 3 meals a day, like normal. So
But we are going back to 1.25. If they do start, if there does start to be like content where they're actually talking, I will slow it down. But right now we're just hearing things move around.
Yes. Good night. Wear your shoes. Your third socks? Your shoes out there. I should start making a bed over there, okay? Okay. Good night.
Now publishing January 8th, 2022.
Jerry? Yeah, let's go with that. We'll put that for you. Here's that ready for you. Father's coming now. Here they come. Here they go. Congratulations.
Oh, welcome. I have questions about everything. I did not know in Louisiana, if a kid runs away at 9 or younger, they arrest the parents, and if they're 10 or over, they get arrested. I did not know that.
What are you doing? Why? You want to eat dinner? Yeah. Okay. We'll eat dinner. What's wrong with you?
This is the
Okay, hang
sweet.
on, bring me dinner. Yeah, I'm hungry. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yes, sorry, let me add that to the banner.
So we heard them come in and ask him if he wanted to eat dinner. So they're check that off the list.
And I'm going to go check and see where Mr. Friberto has gone because
Okay.
oh, like Ramona.
Sweet baby. You want that back? Yeah. Back and forth. Yeah. What? Yeah.
Now publishing January 9th, 2022.
Good. Welcome, Ghost Marie.
Good morning. Good morning. Here's your food, and you grab some clothes for sure and make your bed. And I'm gonna go to the bathroom right now. So take the clothes. Anything else? No, just give it a here, you get it started.
You know, that really is, Danny brings up a good point. This is such a juxtaposition from the Maya trial today. 2 trapped children, 2 weird, different situations. It is weird that there are 2 kind of cases, actually 3, because you do kind of have this case and it kind of marries into the case that, that sorry, I'm trying to pour a drink, but not give you ASMR
I
as
have
much.
questions about everything. You're saying it's not that easy to get kids help when and we were talking about that yesterday, that we could say all day the kid needed help, but they did take him to a therapist. And like, again, we said, if you're not willing to put in the work, if the kid's not willing to go and talk to somebody, you can't force it.
Well, and
You can
his
force
intellect
it if
was
you want to, but does it mean it's going to help at all? Especially if they're not willing, you know?
if his intellect was so high and he really did have the attachment disorder from early childhood, it from what I was reading, and again, this is from Dr. Google, so I am no expert. Take no advice from me.
Yeah.
I am a redhead on the internet. But I mean, they're not even sure they can reverse how a child doesn't form attachments because they don't have that, early childhood kind of, comfort and care as a baby. So I don't know how you would do that. Again, I'm not a doctorologist.
Well, it's just
So,
anybody with like addictions and stuff, like you could ship them off to rehab all day long, but if they're not putting in the work to get better, it's never going to work.
yeah, I think yeah, I mean, there were so many exit ramps off of this path that they could have started as a young child if they noticed that he had a hard time with attachment, they could have started so much younger.
Yeah.
Um,
I would-
if they notice these things and, it's hard to notice these things sometimes. They may have been just excited that they got, these brand new kids and, they were excited to start their family and they didn't want to notice problems.
Absolutely. You can turn a blind eye
S
to, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things and we can armchair quarterback everything. I mean, goodness sakes, everyone's become now an international expert in Israeli, Palestinian, years long so their first child, they was a girl named Fiona, and they adopted her from China.
Mhm.
And then they adopted, I think a year later or a year and a half later, they adopted Ronan or Tai from Vietnam because they wanted them to be somewhat similar, um, geographically, um, and sort of diaspora. So it's easy to do all of that. Let's just listen. We can pontificate, but it is what
Te dicen en el comercio que no estaba conmigo.
and I do really enjoy that we have so many different opinions. I know that we don't all agree, and I'm really glad that we can be respectful and talk to each other, without assuming that, we have bad morals behind it. We just have different opinions. So that's awesome. I love this chat. And I'm really glad that we can do this
Yeah.
because I know this is a touchy subject. I know it's not easy.
Oh, it is. To discuss this kind of stuff because Everybody is so
I know I am. Generally, I am. Sal. Okay, Mom.
Alright, so we're to dirty stuff.
Hey, Sal, just for you, Amazon Prime has Speedo apparel on Prime Day just for you.
There you go.
Thought I should let you know. Speedo's on Prime. I knew you would be excited. That's why I let you know.
My cars didn't have no cars from that time. Come on, there. Well, no, I'm not having it. Come on. I'm the man in the No, come on, maybe later. Hey, here's the phone. Go, get your backpack and get your cars in your room. Okay, man, we gotta go. No, Alan. No. No, Alan. Here, let's go, hurry. Oh, no, you have no cars. You have no cars, oh, no. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Here goes Mary. Here goes Fiona. We're gonna have no cars now. No, we're gonna have no cars. Lights are gonna turn it off in a second. Wait, let's go. Not yet. Let's go. Go get your cars.
You're gonna sit here. I want to see the screen for the camera. Don't block it. Don't try to be tricky. Okay. You sure? Yes. Did I give you that book? Yeah. It's good. Information about the world. Put that on your desk. Right. Corner there. Okay.
Woohoo! Oh, sorry. I just found out that one of the sports, you know, not to pause this important listening to static, but the company I buy my wonderful Pentecostal cosplay skirts from, apparently I had no problem with my particular new skirt, but apparently it fell below quality standards, so they're sending me a free gift card, and I don't have to send the skirt back. I had no problem with it. Fry has already destroyed the seam line anyway.
Oh.
But they're like, "Keep it, and we're sending you a gift card." I'm like, "Get me a new skirt," which, you know, look, I had to spend 6 hours in the mall this weekend with 6 children.
That is.
And
That's,
Bobby, I'm sorry. People suck. We love you just the way you are. Right here. We like you
Yeah.
don't have to put a mask on at all. We like you just how you are.
Exactly.
I
Fly free, Bobby. Fly free.
Yes. My beautiful, beautiful seagull.
A seagull. A
Well, I was
seagull.
gonna say lesbian seagull because that was a song that was going through my head, but then I thought that would be offensive. But then I just said it, so, it is what it is.
Is what it is.
Don't caffeinate me. I can't be trusted. That's the one thing I tell my kids every day. I love you just how you are.
You should.
'Cause I don't feel like I ever got told that as a kid. So I'm like, you know what? Just how you are right now, I love you.
Make something? No, I have to just. You have to watch it? No, I have to like move the thing.
Well, but we're real, sort of.
No, no.
And there's a button between the legs in case you want to do anything immodest, like, bicycle. They're actually super comfy and really cute. And they look put together.
What?
Well, it's Florida, y'all. It's Florida. There's humidities involved.
That's like, are you doing anything you should have done? No. Play any games? No. Sure. Yeah. Who put the air on? Mama did. So here. Sure. Yeah.
Bobby,
Tell me
like
how.
I said, there's humidity and a lot of Virginia Slims behind that hair.
What were you doing?
Bobby, you stole my line.
So you're not the whole time? No. I was grown and it kicked me out. Why did you post grown? Because I'm posting outside. What stuff? On things like this. You can waste my time. Practice their stuff. I'll find it. School will find it, or I'll actually spend time to find it. I don't waste my time searching what you've already been doing. If you're doing anything you should have done. All talking about. All talking about. What were you doing outside?
Allegedly.
That's my name. You're supposed to do that? Well, it's loud. Everyone has it. I think it's loud. It's loud. Like it's not restricted. Okay.
That could be why. Take breaks between barn work. Yes. Good idea.
Yes, it's easy. trying to get back to the portal.
You don't click on something by accident. By accident. You're very deliberate when you do it. So what I can do is bring this to your IT people tomorrow at school, but it says suspicious activity reporting out. I'll let them know that something's happening there with this. Should I do that?
No, that I press. You go to the new tab. I press STBC bookmarks at the top, and it led me there. And then maybe that's the wrong thing. So I clicked on the other one, the portal.
That would actually route your tip report appropriately. Here's this one.
Oh no. Yeah, I would have cried. That's why this is generally my hairdo. My children benefit greatly from me not understanding how to work the daggone parental things and having to watch 3 YouTube videos to try to work the daggone parental controls and then handing it to Mr. Mo. I try to keep track of them. I try to be diligent and do my due diligence. But they're still watching some weird thing about skibbity toilets. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It looks weird. There's something about toilets, and they're obsessed. But it doesn't have cursing, and it doesn't have anything super weird in it, and I had to sit through an entire episode of weird toilets doing nothing, basically. But I did my due diligence, and I sat through it.
Ma'am, quit playing with your boobs.
Well, yes, whatever. It's skibbity toilet, something or other. That's what they want to be for Halloween. I have no idea. I remember when Power Rangers were a thing. I was like, do you want to watch Power Rangers? It's really funny because in the original show, they were unironically fairly ist and phobic, if you will. But I didn't realize it because I was a kid. But looking back, now I'm like, wait a minute. They had the who as the what ranger? This would not be allowed today.
He said he was done with his homework, but he was still on his computer because it's something to do.
What were you searching? This customization thing. What? Customization thing. You're supposed to be doing it on your Chromebook?
Restricted, does that mean you should take $10?
No.
Right.
So you finished all your homework?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's take the Chromebook then. Take it. So you say you're searching customization? Yeah. Okay.
Why don't you go to the bathroom real quick? I'll walk with it.
Did you get, hey Sam? Sam, did you, is it email open? Is the email open?
So are we going to find out what he was looking up?
Right?
Well, because I'm writing notes and I'm trying to figure out because so far it looks like he was playing games when he was doing homework and he was looking up something. That he shouldn't have, or at least they're trying to catch him. And I will be right back. Jamie, I'm going to keep playing this. I can still hear you, but I'm going to take, well, never mind. I'm not going to take Pry out for a potty break, but I am going to take one myself.
Did you turn the air on for him?
I did, yes. I'll give him one more.
Yeah.
There you go. Shaking any better? You can't tell.
Okay. I'll see tonight, but I don't think I'm sleeping that much better.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the lesson, right?
Yeah.
All right, good night.
You turn the light on? Okay, yeah.
Now publishing January 10th, 2022.
Ready? Let's go. Should make your bed.
Ms. Black, are we at a stopping off point for a 10-minute break? Let's pause it. I'm going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break now. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it's 20 after. We've been going about an hour. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll start back up 11:30. All right, everyone may be seated. Court will be in recess until 11:30. You may be seated. All right, before we get started, let me just make an announcement. I've been advised that there have been some instances of people taking photos with their cell phones or electronics in the courtroom. That is expressly and specifically prohibited unless you are a member of the press. It's been pre-authorized to either video these proceedings or take still photography through our publicity coordinator. Anybody else is not authorized to be using their electronics in the courtroom unless you are an attorney or involved in either the state's legal team or the defense's legal team. Anybody else should turn your electronics off at this point because I can't have anybody violating the rules and taking photographs or audio recordings of these proceedings when they've already been expressly advised prior to this that they shouldn't be doing that. So that's the court's ruling. Unless you, again, are a member of the either state or the defense legal team or an attorney or a member of the press that's already been pre-authorized of to take video or still photographs. Everyone else should have your electronics turned off at this point. Ms. Black, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir. I did want to address one issue when we were at sidebar about the timing on
Mhm.
videos. It came to my attention that the timing is in the UTC time. So in the later hours, when it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, or 8 o'clock, it converts because it's 5 hours ahead.
So it's still correct. So you'll deal with that in closing arguments and explain it if that's something that needs to be explained. But you concur with that explanation, Mr. Wahid? You don't. Okay, all right. So if that's something that either side wants to address in closing arguments, you can do it. It doesn't sound to me like it's a problem with the evidence per se, and it's not even a problem that it's not representing what it purports to represent. It sounds like to me now you just have to explain to them that it's the UTC time. All right, so all sides ready to continue.
It shows UTC and Eastern time. It shows both on the screen.
All right, and for those individuals that just walked in prior to my last announcement, you're supposed to, I made an announcement that unless you're an attorney, member of the press, or a member of either the state or the defense's legal team, all electronics are to be turned off at this point because I've been advised of instances of people taking photographs with their phones. And so because of that, I'm going to now have to invoke the rule that nobody have their electronics on except the people that I've authorized. All right, so with that, everybody ready for the jury to be brought back out? All right, Mark, you may bring them out.
Well, who was taking pictures other than I mean, it looks like only the media and the legal team was there. I mean, who all
Yeah.
else was there?
I didn't see the mom with her phone out or anything. She just had that laptop.
No, I mean, I saw her legal team booby McChest
All right.
grab.
Were they taking? I don't know. I didn't see anybody.
All right, everyone may be seated.
I
Ms.
mean,
Black, you may proceed with
wouldn't
the
the
continued
state
public-
have given the Weiss
for the-
legal team this discovery as well? Or well, I guess that's something I'll have to ask David.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I mean, it's odd
You guys
that
wonder why I have this. Mr. Mo comes home and he's like, I had a beautiful desk. It's all beautiful. And I have just little post-it notes all over the place. He's like, you can take notes on your computer. No, I can't.
Just for the record, the state is still publishing State Exhibit 17, and we are on January 10th, 2022.
And Ms. Black, just let them know about the UTC time. I think now's an appropriate time to let them know so they can process it contemporaneous to seeing it.
So before every snapshot, there is what's the UTC time, which is 5 hours ahead of what the Eastern time is. So on the bottom, you will see the Eastern time. And then on top, you may see that it may be ahead a day, but that's just because of the timing. This is the time zone. This is still the same day.
Okay. All right, you may continue then.
Fry loves his pineapple bed. I hope he doesn't get much bigger or he's going to outgrow it and I'm going to have to figure out how to expand it. I like pencil and paper. I tend to do better with pencil and paper. I don't know why.
So try to get your socks get closed. Just go through there? Yeah. Where are your shoes? Girls, by the shelf. Okay, I'll go get them. Maybe bring mine. This is dirty. Okay, go down the garage. I'll come with you. I'm gonna just get married and I'll be right there. Okay. When we get married, okay? I'll come with you.
Just checking the speed is okay with everyone. We're still at 1.25, but I want to make sure that we're okay with still being at 1.25. Let me double check because I'm only half-brained sometimes.
Can you put that on pause, Ms. Black? Let me have council approach, please.
We're just switching beds. Guys, like, I'm switching beds. I do love the camera.
All right, you may continue with the publishing.
I was going to say Gary Busey, Bobby. These are hard-hitting God love us. We're getting bored with not being able to see anything.
You want to take this thing to the next level? Let's do it. Let's do it in Florida too. Let's do it in Florida too. Let's go.
Okay.
pajamas. Here's a study room. Go to pajamas. You hear me? What are you doing? I can't stop.
I do want to see if, so I wonder if the defense has videos of them going in to talk to him, because I know the state is showing their videos.
Mhm.
So
Some-
I'm wondering, and I get, where did Bobby put this? Because oh gosh, where was? Yeah, I have this problem too. It's not this, but when I get really upset, I just kind of freeze up and it's hard for me to talk. So I I do understand, um it does seem really ridiculous that the parents are yelling at him for not talking and also yelling at him for talking back or being a smartass. So,
Been there, done that. What did I miss? Like, sorry, I had to
uh,
for a minute.
so, we did hear the dad yell pretty loud, "Do you wanna take it there?" I mean, it was definitely really loud and really aggressive, and then you heard Ronan crying afterwards. Um,
Mhm.
so that was really hard to listen to, and I mean, honestly, I haven't heard them have one conversation with him beyond "Make your bed." Uh, I will have to look that up. Let me look that up now because I've
Dang,
just been
that's what's hard about this is because the state's picking their videos that makes their case. So hopefully the defense has kind of a counter.
okay, so Timothy Ferreter, USA Today, I don't wanna buy your magazine. No one does. That's why you're dying. Okay, so Timothy Ferreter is 48. And his wife is why does his wife not have her age in here?
Because that's how women do it. We never tell anyone how old we are.
Not Toffany. Damn fat fingers.
Wheel.
Um, well, we know Tim is 48 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't heard them say good morning. I haven't heard them say, "Hey, how was your night? Did you have a good night?" There's a lot of communication that hasn't been built up.
I mean, would they want to show that kind of stuff? Who knows? I mean, hopefully we'll see that with the defense.
Well, yeah, maybe they're cherry picking and not showing that. These are 1 minute from and I could be very wrong, but from what I understood, it's the ring is 1 minute slivers, and they're kind of putting the 1 minute slivers together to
Mhm.
make these longer clips. Is that kind of right, chat? From what I gathered, that they took these 1 minute things because Ring does like a minute and then it stops. And then if you move it, or if you move, then it gives you another minute. That's kind of how I understood it. I don't have a Ring, so, but yeah, Crime Spies is definitely right. If kids don't give positive reinforcement, they will, go to negative reinforcement just to get attention. And it's really stark. Oh, okay. So maybe this one's longer. Okay. Well, I'm just trying to, because I don't have some of these things. Yeah, but they definitely, something that's really stood out to me is that, beyond telling him, "Hey, make your bed, do that." Now, maybe he has broken, maybe the parental child relationship has broken down such to the point that they feel like jailers and he feels like a prisoner. So it has broken down to that level. And that's the point where they should say, "Hey, I can't even ask, I don't even feel the feelings." That should be a wake-up call. Like, if I were the parents and on a week, say I just looked at my Ring phone and I realized that I didn't ask my son, "Good morning, how was your day?" All I did was act like his prison guard, then th that's a stark reality check right there that, "Hey, our relationship has broken down to this point that I need outside help. Obviously, this isn't healthy."
Mhm.
I mean, that I would be speechless if I were the parent watching this.
And that's where it goes into we're getting the inside look into somebody's life, somebody's parenting skills, which I'm sure there's millions of people out there doing the same, doing something similar. But does it rise to criminal being put in jail because of it? That's what I'm struggling.
Was there So I guess the defense right lays on one single question, is what the defense lawyer said, was it malicious?
Yeah,
And I'll have to ask David I have my own little list of ask David questions.
I know,
Poor
right?
David, he's like, "Go to law school." What does malicious actually mean?
It is, and what I've learned about these cases is we get so wrapped up in the drama and the story and what's going on that we forget that it's really about does this rise to the level of of criminal charges? And
Yeah,
that's
and this is yeah, and this is hard to watch as a person, or listen to as a person. You hear a kid getting yelled at, you 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 hear a family at its breaking
Mhm.
point.
Yes.
You
You cringe because it's sad.
Yeah. I mean, these parents haven't asked this child anything about himself other
Yeah.
than bark orders at him. You hear this child crying after he gets yelled at. I mean, this is hard to listen to as a parent, as a person, as a human. This is hard to listen to.
Yeah, like
So,
it's terrible.
I mean,
I would never want to treat another human being this way. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not right. But I have a fine line between it's not right and it's just an awful way to be a human being. And you should be embarrassed. But should you spend the rest of your life in jail? That's where I draw the line
well,
right now.
and I
Feel like you
wonder what the jury questions are gonna be. And
Mhm.
I feel like the jury's been doing a good job asking good wait, this is the one where they can ask questions.
Is it? I haven't heard one yet.
Or is that the Maya one? I'm trying to keep 3 things going together at the same time. And like I said, guys, I am going back on my full dose of Lyrica, so I am a little
Exactly, crime
that's
spies.
why I was about to say that's why I have my 18 things of notes
Yeah, I know.
so I can keep but you're right. Again, if we are all look, whether you believe it or and as I say, I'm the world's worst Christian, so if you want a good one, go to Steve Gosney. Uh, you know, but we are all fallen. We are all not perfect. Parenting isn't easy. It's not good. In fact, one of my oldest had to ask me if you would, go back and change anything about your parenting, what would you do? And I was like, everything.
Well, yeah, if people look back, I'm sure everybody could.
Yeah, if I had the wisdom I do now, I would go back and change everything. I'd be a much better parent. I mean, the problem is as you parent your child, you parent yourself basically to become a better parent. That's Maya. Thank you, AC Wildflower. I knew it was one of the Florida cases. Thank you guys so much for keeping me on the straight and narrow-ish. We will get back on track.
Yep.
Oh, well, yeah, you, Bobby, are perfect. I mean, I need some help, but
Oh, we're perfect. I'm perfect.
I'm working on it. Look, I'm just aiming for purgatory. Y'all are aiming for perfect. I am aiming for purgatory.
I kid.
Y'all is aiming too high. Same. All the same.
I mean, my parents were very young and very frustrated, so I get it. I understand now. I'm older and I get it now.
Looking back, you can definitely see your parents through more understanding human eyes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So,
Oh, thank you very much, Anthony Lewis. And cute doggo. I love the doggo pictures. Now that I have a doggo, all the doggo pictures.
hello, Anthony.
You saw any of those wipes for your face? I don't know where they are. Maybe not.
Aw.
Yeah, you do.
That concludes January 10th. And
this time the state would pause on this and I can call it.
Okay,
This time we call it way higher.
okay.
Microphone lady.
Yes. And it happened to be the one lawyer you can't hear. Never the lawyer that's loud.
Where does he get to go all the time? He's just walking around with his little notebook.
Well, I think they had it set up so they couldn't
Oh.
see from the defense table.
Gotcha.
I do like the irony of that.
Well, they were now that is a
See,
level-
okay,
that's
now,
a level that I don't get down with.
yeah, now there is no gray area there.
No.
No, that is full on. We can, yeah,
Tying kids up in closets. Yeah, that's different.
mixing honey and cayenne pepper to put in their wounds. Who thinks of that?
Yeah.
What kind of? I don't even think Sal can fix either of them. I mean, Sal is super awesome, but I think even Sal's powers.
Yeah.
I don't know that Sal could fix Jody.
Jody's level of manipulation and teachings are disgusting. Now that's something I crosses the line for me.
Well, okay, not Jody Arias, Jody, what's Hildebrandt?
yeah.
I mean,
well, guys.
she's like the end form of Jody. She's the end Pokemon. She's the final form. She's the mega boss.
Yes.
So mean. I'm a terrible person. Going straight to Hades. Oh well.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right, Ms. Coakley, you may begin at your convenience.
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Wade Cooper Myers, MD.
What's your occupation?
I'm a psychiatrist, and I am also a child psychiatrist and a forensic psychiatrist, and I'm a professor of psychiatry at Brown University in Rhode Island.
Is this
Now,
speed
you
okay,
mentioned
or
that
do you
you're a
want me to
medical
slow it
doctor.
down, guys?
Take us a little bit through your educational background.
I went to undergraduate
I would
college
say
at
get through the
Stetson
foundation.
University in DeLand,
Or,
Florida.
Okay.
I got a degree in biology.
Keep it
Then I
high
went
on
to medical
that.
school at Temple University in
All right.
Philadelphia, where I got
Once he
my
starts talking,
MD
I
degree.
put down.
Then I went to University of Florida. Well, actually, before that, I did 1 year of general surgery at University of South Florida in Tampa. And then I switched over to psychiatry training, and I went to University of Florida in Gainesville, where I did a general psychiatry residency to become a psychiatrist. And then I did extra training in child and adolescent psychiatry, which was a 2-year fellowship there as well. And also I did a 1-year training program in forensic psychiatry, also at University of Florida.
What's the difference between general psychiatry and forensic psychiatry? Like, what is forensic psychiatry?
But general psychiatry is more involved in the diagnosis and treatment of mental disorders. Forensic psychiatry is helping out the legal system in any way in which mental illness and the law may come together. So it could be
Future
criminal,
justice for Sal.
matters like the insanity defense. It could be child custody cases. It could be malpractice cases where you would opine on someone's
He has a very comforting
medical care or
speech
psychiatric
pattern.
care of a patient. It's a broad array of things in forensic psychiatry.
Sir, can you pull the mic up a little closer to you, please?
Yes,
After you finish your fellowship at the University of Florida, and are you licensed in Florida?
I am. Yes.
And what about Rhode Island?
Yes, I'm also licensed in Rhode Island.
Now, you mentioned that you're currently a professor at Brown University. What did you do in between that fellowship at the University of Florida and then going to Brown?
I was on the faculty at University of Florida for, I'm going to say about 15 years, 10 or 15 years, where I became a associate professor. Then I went to the University of South Florida, and I helped. I went there really to start a forensic psychiatry fellowship program, which we did. I was there at the University of South Florida for about 5 years. I was a professor there, and then for the last 14 years, I've been at Brown University, also where I was recruited to go up and to build a forensic psychiatry program.
Welcome,
Do you
Baker.
treat patients?
I do, yes.
And you said that one of your areas is child psychiatry. So are predominantly your patients children?
Yes, most of my patients are children. I also treat adults with a variety of mental conditions.
Now, as a professor, are you involved in teaching in the areas that we talk about?
I am, yes.
Tell us what you, broadly, what that means you do as far as the teaching responsibilities.
I give some lectures to students more in a lecture format, but a lot of my
See, and
teaching is clinical.
here I like Cooler
instruction.
Ranch
And for
or
instance,
Cool
we have
Ranch.
forensic
So
psychiatry fellows who come
like
afraid you're
work
not.
with our faculty for a year in a training program. They become trained in forensic psychiatry. So they'll do cases with us, different types of cases. And then also we give them seminars every week, as well as they'll go to a law school class for a semester, one afternoon a week. We participate in that as well with them.
So sorry to interrupt. Do you do any academic research or publish in areas of child psychiatry or forensic psychiatry?
Yes, I have regularly been involved in research during my career.
And peer-reviewed scientific publications, that's what we're talking about?
Yes.
Now, as part of your work, do you
Oh,
also
ma'am.
sometimes get involved to give
You
an
can
expert
stay away
opinion
from the
in,
microphone.
legal cases?
I do, yes.
Does that include in criminal cases?
It does.
Have you testified here in Palm Beach County before on criminal cases?
Yes, I have.
That sounds
On at
awful.
least several occasions.
And is that true in other places around the country as well?
Yes.
And so you've offered your expert opinion on
Thank
topics
you,
involving
Jeebus.
psychiatry in places around the country. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is.
Now, did I reach out to you in this case to see if you could assist us in providing an expert opinion?
Yes, you did.
And did you agree to be involved and to review some of the items in this case?
Yes.
As part of
Yes,
that,
so stop the phone
did
call.
you review the witness statements that were given by his sister?
Yes, I did.
And did you also have the opportunity to review their depositions?
Yes.
What about police reports? Did you have the opportunity to review some of the police reports and forensic evaluations done of the children in this case?
I did.
Did you also have the opportunity to review some of the videos that were captured from the Ring camera in this case?
I did. Yes. I believe I reviewed in the neighborhood of 40 videos.
Now, did you also review some school records related to the child in this case, as well as some prior treatment records by other providers?
Yes, I did.
Now, I wanted to, based on your review of all of the documentation in this case, of the documentation that you reviewed in this case, were you able to reach a professional opinion as to whether or not the treatment that received from his parents in this case was harmful?
Yes, I did. I felt it was severely harmful and very psychologically damaging to.
And why is that?
It was a long-standing pattern of harsh, cruel, and demeaning actions toward this child, as well as close to 3 years of essentially solitary confinement when he was not in school, as well as really sadistic punishments while
When
he was locked
in
away
school or was
in
it-
the room. For instance, withholding meals if he misbehaved, taking his one book away as punishment, which is the one thing he had to do in the room towards the end, turning the lights out to punishment as punishment. And in fact, he talked about being afraid of the dark. And when the lights would go off when he was being punished, he would pull the sheet over his head and really feel terror.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not this type of treatment of a child by the parents is malicious?
It's malicious. It's cruel. There's really,
Overall,
You can go ahead. Do you have an opinion as to whether or not this type of treatment is malicious?
yes, my opinion is it's malicious. It's cruel. I can't think of any other way to describe it more accurately.
Now, even in cases where this punishment may be in response to maybe a negative or unwanted behavior of a child, is that change at all your opinion? If the child did something wrong and then the parent, this is how they are punishing them, does that change your opinion on whether or not this type of action by the defendants is malicious and cruel?
No, there's no set of circumstances concerning a child's behavior that would justify this sort of really torturous behavior.
Would this type of behavior as punishment or as a punitive measure, or would it result in a positive behavior modification by the child?
No, if I was asked that in a theoretical way, I would predict this sort of behavior to cause the child's reactions, the behavior, their psychological state to deteriorate even further.
And what kind of behaviors might you see as a result of that, hypothetically, in a child who is subjected to this type of behavior, this type of treatment?
It could go in a whole lot of directions that we see in children who are abused children, psychologically, emotionally abused, neglected, but it can go from depression to anxiety to self-injury, where they maybe even start cutting themselves, to trying to commit suicide, to aggression, to headbanging, to problems with peers, problems with concentration, nightmares, sleep disturbances. The list is very long in abused children, how different children manifest the signs of abuse.
Could it result in an increase of the type of behavior that is that the parent considers bad or inappropriate?
Yes, it can cause the child to have a irritable mood. They can become aggressive with their peers. They can become aggressive with family members. Yes, they can they may often will try to run away.
Now, is there any justification or possibility of a positive result from this type of punishment of a child, this type of treatment?
No.
Now, what can you tell us about the type of psychological impact this type of treatment can have?
Again, it's a long list, but do you want me to kind of focus more
broadly.
or
I want you to say broadly first, and then we'll talk more specifically.
so it can have, in general, it can cause more internalizing symptoms where the child will become depressed or withdrawn or isolating of themselves from others, or it can go the other way, externalizing, where they might start acting out, running away, being aggressive. It can affect their schoolwork, where they can't concentrate, their grades start going down.
Clearly
It can
his grades
cause a lot of problems with them being able to interact positively and in a good way socially with their peers. They may have problems on the playgrounds. They may have problems with even just following the general rules of the school, whatever that might be.
Now, concentrating on kind of some of the videos that you were able to see of his reactions in the room. Anything about that you think was indicative of a psychological impact on the victim while he's in the room?
Yes, it's consistent with a child who has post-traumatic stress disorder. There was when the parent, his father, would come in the room and approach him, he would stiffen up, he would lower his head, you could barely hear his speech when he did talk, and he seemed to be in a very high state of fear. But that tenseness, as though the adrenaline's flowing, and he's afraid of another abusive episode occurring or being harmed, or he said he was even afraid of being killed.
Now, this type of treatment of a child, can it stunt their intellectual growth?
Yes, it can.
Can it stunt their psychological growth?
It can, yes.
Is there a reasonable likelihood when a person engages in this type of behavior towards a child that there is going to be psychological injury or mental injury as a result?
Oh,
Is there a-
wow.
Is there a likelihood?
Thank you for the raid,
Yes,
guys.
there is a substantial likelihood.
Now, in this case, did you see, based on the evidence that you were able to review, is there a pattern of isolation of the child?
Yes, it's he for nearly 3 years was isolated in the cell for
Hi, Nina.
the
Hi,
better part
Farrell.
of each day. As far as hours, it sounds like when he wasn't at school, let's say he's at school for 8 hours, he's then in the box for 14, 16
Stop
hours a
calling
day
it the box or the cell. It's
Now,
on a daily basis. So yeah, a very
I still just want to say every time they see the box, I just want to say, what's in the box?
and what's in the box? Yeah, I know.
Because I'm 12 and a half, and I'm very sorry, guys. This is important.
We know.
I'm working on it.
We know.
Hi, Indigo.
Hey guys.
I like your new hair. Yeah, I'm. he does seem to be he has a lot of credentials, and he does seem to be very reasonable. Did he I wonder if he interviewed,
That's the thing.
Ronan and what his impressions were.
I was just gonna ask that. I was like, unless he's spoken to the child, it's hard for me to hear like you watch some videos that doesn't tell the whole story, and then you're making a lot of claims. Like, tell me you talked to the child. Like,
Because I do the only thing the videos tell part of the story, but I do want him to have talked to Ronan only because, um, you know, Ronan does add a component of, kind of highly intelligent, and I want to see what his impressions were as a professional, and me being a Dr. Google person.
well, exactly, because
Uh,
make claims of like
welcome, Veilhammer.
he's scared, he's this, he's that. Like, I feel like you need to talk to the child, because you can't just like make that assumption off of what you saw on a video. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I am wondering if he did get to interview and do a forensic interview with him, or if he just saw the video. So we should probably
Yeah,
probably keep going.
very much established pattern.
Did you, and I think you say isolation, is it fair to say that there was also a pattern of confinement here?
Oh, here, let me turn it to
Yes, they're
regular
essentially one of the same.
so she doesn't sound as much
Is
like a
there,
chipmunk.
were you able to observe a pattern of a deprivation of the child?
Yes, there was emotional deprivation. There was physical deprivation.
So
there
neither
was
of these experts
intellectual or
talk to the
cognitive
children
deprivation where he wasn't
child, for the love of all that is
really provided
Cheetos.
much in the way of anything to stimulate his mind or to entertain himself. I mean,
Welcome,
Is
Stray.
isolation, confinement, and deprivation considered an acceptable way to punish a child?
no, it's not. It would be counter therapeutic to disciplining a child. But we're not talking about a 5-year-old who might have a temper tantrum and you want to give them a timeout for 5 minutes in their room. I mean, that's something. Timeouts are an accepted form of discipline.
Yeah.
So does it
time
make a
starts.
difference, in your opinion, the duration of the isolation?
Okay, so they
confinement, and
weren't
duration?
given
and
time and
Oh, it's
access
a
to
huge
Ronan.
difference.
I
Sure.
guess
If it's a short,
I guess I was under the impression that they were going to actually interview the child and give kind of opinions there. I guess. Okay, that makes more sense.
It makes sense, but
All
it also,
right.
like,
But
It-
oh, go
I'm
ahead,
not-
Jamie. Sorry.
no, I'm just saying it makes sense that that's what they do. Obviously I've watched a lot of cases that they'll just review the evidence they are given and make their opinion. But when it comes to like talking about how the child is this and how the child is that, scared, thinks he's going to be killed, etc., I feel like that's where it's like, well, they need to be talking to the child, get a feel for like what they're telling them.
Well, yeah, especially when the child self-admittedly says, like, I go into a room and I try to figure out which adult I can kind of scam.
Yeah.
That's why I was hoping that both experts had talked to Ronan and kind of gotten a beat on how they felt about his, kind of just general overall well-being. But yes, that is Dr. Wade's testimony. Yes. In a nutshell. Although that's probably not apropos and or politically correct at this point.
it's a short duration for younger children. It can be appropriate. But again, I'm talking in terms of minutes, not hours. But in terms of doing it every day, day after day, for most of the day, there's just no comparison to say a short timeout with a younger child.
And even just looking at the time frame that happened in Florida, those 5 to 6 weeks, that amount of time frame, is that harmful?
Yes, undoubtedly it would be for about any child, I'm sure.
Now, would you consider, or would it be correct to characterize what the treatment that he was subjected to as solitary confinement?
Yes.
Is solitary confinement within the psychological and psychiatric and medical community, is that something that is considered appropriate for a child?
No, and in fact, years ago, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, which I'm a member of, came out with a statement strongly arguing against children, even in juvenile
Good night. Oh, wait, sorry.
detention
Good night,
centers,
Pixie. Have a
having
good
solitary confinement
evening.
because
Thank you for
it's,
joining me for your
it's
evening.
detrimental psychological
You later,
impacts.
lady.
Is it considered damaging to brain development of a child?
It is, yes. That's another aspect of it, is that it can cause literally changes to one's brain.
Well, they are saying
structure.
could and may.
Now,
But
even
it's-
within the setting of a criminal justice
Mm.
system where it might be part of a child subjected to that in the criminal justice system, is it acceptable for them to be in long-term solitary confinement?
No, it is not.
I do
even in
like,
those
okay, so the state actually did something pretty smart here, because that was going to be my next kind of argument, was that should Ronan have been picked up for kind of the credit card fraud that he was accused of, he might have been put in to, let's say, solitary confinement if he were to act up in juvie. But she is closing that loop, so that they have thought this forward. I do like when you see the lawyers are doing their job and thinking things forward and thinking about these arguments that people will make, and then kind of closing that loop. So, because that was going to be my next kind of, well, if you're stealing people's credit cards and you go to juvie, you're still going to be locked into a room.
Yeah.
You know, and you're the state and you lock people up into rooms all the time.
Yeah, but
So it's kind of,
I know.
circumstances of a criminal justice system is a child, when confined to a cell, given access to water and facilities to relieve themselves.
Well, yes, it would be very different. There's a bed in the room. There's a toilet. There's a sink where they always have access to water, so they wouldn't be subject to a dehydration. For instance, there's officers where they can always call out to somebody if they need something. There's lighting. It would never be pitch black in a juvenile detention center. So they would not be subjected to that sort of sensory deprivation of being in a totally dark room for hours at a time. And they're served meals. There wouldn't be any holding back of meals as some sort of punishment for a
Never
child
held
in
back
the
meals
detention
from him
center.
though.
Now, discussing the isolation
Not a thing.
specifically, is there a detrimental impact to a child to be socially and physically isolated the way that or was from the rest of the family?
I'm
okay.
sorry.
And
Is there
then- so Stray, this case is essentially this family adopted Ronan when he was about 17 months old from Vietnam. They made a lot of mistakes. It sounds like he's had behavioral problems for a long time. Their decision, escalating from rough play, lying, breaking technology rules at school, looking up disturbing things, questioning if the Holocaust was real. I shit you not. Then he went into his sister's class and made a horrid announcement about her, basically shaming her, saying that he was from the school board or he had reason to do so. He memorized and fraudulently used a friend's father's credit card, took either a box cutter or a serrated tool to school. He gave his 4-year-old brother a beer as an experiment. So, and ran away. So there were escalating bad behaviors. He has ADHD and attachment or active reactive attachment disorder. Now, I don't know a lot about I know about ADHD. I don't know about the other. I'm sure that this doctor will explain it since he's, an actual doctor. It got to the point where the parents were what the defense story is that the parents were afraid of him running away at night or him hurting the other younger children. So their solution was to build a room with a lock on the outside and put a Ring camera in there. Now, due to his behavior and not following the rules, anything that he would have in the room, desk, pictures, dresser, things like that, would be taken away due to behavior. So if he misused electronics to look up terrible things, which we don't really know the um, specifics of, he would lose it. If he tore up his clothes, which according to the information that we have in this case only happened once, he would lose his dresser. If he got upset and he tore his posters down, he would lose those. Now, he is now, I believe, 16 or 17.
16 when he was 16.
So they move from Arizona to Jupiter, Florida. Instead of finding a house with a big enough accommodations for the entire family to live comfortably and for him to have maybe a separate kind of mother-in-law's suite or somewhere where he can be somewhat separate from the family if they are that afraid of his safety and the family's safety. This father decides to get a contractor to build an 8x8 smaller room in the garage with an air conditioner, but locks on the outside, installs a Ring camera. They put him in there, and with according to the defense, and again, this is the defense's story, uh, he runs away. The police find the room. It is now a cell, and they've locked them in there forever. So the MSM or the mainstream media definitely puts it out as he was locked in there all the time. So there's inconsistencies between what the media has presented this case as, where, this child was never let out, which is not true. The parents made so many missteps with the child's mental health. This child is extremely bright and somewhat manipulative. He did testify, and I encourage everyone who is new to this trial to listen to the child's testimony, because I know I listened to it twice and I still have a lot of questions and I still haven't made up my mind about how I feel about it. So rather than giving my opinion, I really encourage you to listen to it. And hey, Cindy Lou Woot, I haven't seen you in a while, but
Yeah.
that's kind of the 5-cent elevator pitch of this criminal
Oh.
case. The father is facing up to 40 years in prison for false imprisonment, child neglect, and abuse. He was offered a plea deal of 2 years in prison and 5 years probation. So he is being, it is alleged that they starved him, but it has come out in testimony that uh, he was fed and he was a pescatarian. So and they were trying to reduce sugar based on several of their doctors saying that lowering sugar might lower some of the behavioral problems. So that's kind of where we are. Again, we're still on the state. I am several days behind. I'm not gonna lie. I hope to have caught up this weekend, but we had a dead mouse in Prius engine.
Oh my God.
Look, the Toyota people were like, "Look, we tried to get all the bits out to stop it from smelling." It's like,
Yes, the mom's been charged also. She'll have her own.
yes. Yes, they severed the cases. It was supposed to be charged together, which is why my thumbnail still has the dad and mom, or no, I think I changed it to just the dad, but my earlier thumbnails had the parents together. Yes, a mouse decided to make a nest in Mr. Mo's new car in the engine, and apparently mouse nest versus engine intake fan is not a pretty thing,
No.
and it starts to smell. Oh, that's right. I need to mark down where I put this so I can clip this out at some point.
Well, that was a good rundown. But yeah, you have to really look at this like, yeah, they were some bad parents, bad decisions, but does it rise to the level of criminal, like basically rest of your life in prison, criminal charges? So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing for me boils down to you guys were in over your head. You are fairly affluent. Why didn't you buy a house that had room for all of your kids? I don't get it. I really don't. But I am just a redhead on the internet, not even a real redhead, a fake redhead on the
Is
internet.
there a negative impact associated with the social and physical isolation?
Well, that's part
Look,
of the trauma
as a king of the hill
this is
fan,
that
I tell you what.
he's kept from having a normal family environment where he comes out and is socializing with his peers and spending time with his parents and doing things together and having fun and just having a normal family experience. He's segregated as soon as he gets home, and the children all know he's in the box, but it's giving him the message that you're not valued, you're unloved, you're not important, you're not part of this family.
Yes, and that sucks.
You're being rejected.
Is it sending a message that he fundamentally is bad?
Yes, and that you're right, and that you're bad. You're not able to be part of this family because you're bad.
Now, during the course of reviewing the evidence in this case, did you become aware of whether or not his confinement in the structure in the garage was absolute? Was it at all times?
With infrequent exceptions, yes. I mean, he did occasionally have some after school activities, as I understand, more so I think in Arizona than when he got to Florida, where he might be allowed to run track or do some track at school.
And he went to school.
Yes.
You saw that. And did you find that there were some also infrequent examples of when he was allowed to interact with the family?
Yes, he went to, for instance, siblings softball practices. They did go out to, I think they went out to dinner a few times.
Does the
there's
isolation and confinement and deprivation, does it have to be absolute, like at all times, in order for it to be harmful?
No, it doesn't. No.
In reaching your opinion that the conduct that this defendant engaged in towards his son was harmful and was malicious and cruel, did you take into consideration the fact that there were occasions where he wasn't in the room?
I did, yes.
Now, I want to talk.
It's the totality of it, that he's literally for 3 years spending most of his life, the majority of it, in solitary confinement with very little stimulation and interaction when he is in there.
Now, I want to talk for a second about sensory deprivation, which I think you mentioned. What is sensory deprivation?
It's a lack of any kind of external stimuli, really, that is so important to adolescent development, like being able to go out and play with your peers or your friends after school, or ride a bike around the neighborhood, or throw a baseball, or come out and eat dinner with your family, or have some things to play with, like a computer or an iPad, or games or Legos, or something to do to occupy your mind.
Now, what kind of impact can that type of sensory deprivation have?
Well, in extreme cases, children can literally become psychotic and lose contact with reality, but it very predictably causes severe psychological problems. Again, like depression or repetitive behaviors like self-injury or self-stimulation behaviors that somehow you start doing things to stimulate yourself because you need something to occupy your mind
Well,
after a while when you're
maybe the defense wants, or maybe the defense wants to give the expert. Remember when, and was just a baby, you know, crime uh, court trial watcher, and you hear Ricada just yelling, "Object!" At the Rittenhouse trial, but their strategy was to let the state put all the evidence on the board to show that they had nothing to hide. Uh, so maybe the defense is to let this man talk and talk and talk and really put everything out there, and then they are so confident in their expert, and they're very confident in their voir dire that they have picked a jury that they feel like you know, is on their side. I don't know. I didn't listen to voir dire, so or maybe they've been seeing the juror's face when, the victim testified and things like that, that, it it changes the equation, and maybe they don't wanna look like they're being too aggressive because obviously there's a fine line to kind of navigate. You don't wanna look like you're being you wanna be, you know, diligent about defending your client, but you don't wanna look like an asshole.
Mhm.
So, that's my 2 cents as a non-lawyer lawyer.
And it's amazing. Mo's amazing.
Those are just my 2 cents. I'm only on, tweet number 2 of Daryl Brooks learn to law, from his jail iPad. So,
when you're in a locked room with nothing to do hour after hour after hour.
Now, what about being in the dark? How does that impact someone? I mean, is that
In
bad?
general, it would be frightening for, I believe, any child to be locked in a room and have the lights totally turned out. But even more so when that happens and you're going to be in that room with little or no ability to contact anybody if something bad happens. You can't even come out and use the bathroom. You have to find your way to a bucket in a dark room and I guess it's in the corner, and try to figure out how to go to the bathroom in the dark in a bucket. And then you're going to be with that bucket for the remainder of the night, depending on what time you use the bucket.
Is that type of forced sensory deprivation, being forced to sit in the dark and have no control over the lights, is that harmful?
Yes, it's a form of psychological trauma. It's really a form of torture to do that to a child.
Now, you mentioned the bucket. I want to talk a little bit about that. What kind of impact, or how can that be perceived by a child who is forced to use that as a way in which to relieve themselves?
It's mean, it's degrading, it's unsanitary, it's extremely unpleasant to at least to have to be in the room and then locked in a room.
so the defense's s take on why he was not allowed to control the lights on or off, or why that privilege was taken away from him, was that he was staying up all hours of the night. He was not going to bed. When he was given the privilege to keep his lights on, he was staying up until he was not sleeping. So the parents felt that in order to control, again, bad choice, They should have not done this, but they decided that he had lost the privilege to control that, and they took over the lights. That is the defense's side, at least from, kind of the testimony and the, I believe it came out with Ronan where he was staying up really late and they had to, uh he was known to stay up really late and they took away the privilege of having the lights. At least that's what I remember from his testimony, or it was in someone's testimony that he was, again, staying up very late and they took away the light privileges because, he was staying up quite late. And I think that's the other reason that they went to the extreme. I don't know that he's going to testify. And yeah, Captain Have Fun, there were so many exit ramps on this whole shenanigans-filled highway that we could have not been here. I think there was the little light sockety deal that Mr. Mo has to put in, they were all on the outside.
In a room with your own excrement with nothing, no way
Now
to.
he did not have to poop in the bucket in Florida. He alleges that he pooped in a bucket in, Phoenix, but there is not evidence that has been brought into this case physically or photographically, to my knowledge, and I could be very wrong, but to my knowledge, that he actually defecated beyond his testimony that he pooped in the bucket.
That's
According
so.
yeah.
Do anything about it.
Now, can being subject to that kind of humiliating and degrading lifestyle impact cause a psychological injury to a child?
Psychological what?
Injury.
Yes, it definitely can. It's really psychological abuse is the simplest way to put it. And it's also really a form of medical neglect because of the unsanitary aspects of it.
Now, would you say, or do you have an opinion as to whether or not these specific factors are cruel, demeaning, and injurious? I think you already said that for the having to use the facilities in a bucket. What about giving little stimulation or limiting their ability, the stimulation of the child?
That's another form of psychological abuse when you limit an adolescent's abilities and access to intellectual or.
No, I'm not disagreeing, Lucy. I'm just saying thus far in the trial, we haven't he said that in Florida he didn't have to poop in the bucket. His testimony was in Florida during the weeks he was there because they had just moved. He said during the evening he didn't have to poop in the bucket.
And most of the time, I mean, I don't know about you, but I can sleep a whole night without having to go to the bathroom. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. That's just,
Look, I'm not going to talk about my poo habits. It just seems a bit weird. That's an OnlyFans kind of thing, I think. And I don't even know if OnlyFans does that. Oh, okay. Only twice in Arizona, apparently, is the pooping deal.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't hear anything else.
Or academic stimulation when they're at home.
What about
really stunting their brain development and their intellectual development?
Sal,
what about in situations, or what about when there is extreme control or lack of access to food, where their access to food or snacks is extremely limited or controlled by someone other than the child?
Okay.
So
Food was not
adolescence
allowed.
is a time when you're supposed to be developing increased
All right. So this point of contention again, the defense claims that doctors again, the defense claims that these parents were at the end of their rope and they were going to many different doctors. And one of, I believe, their main pediatrician, because you kind of have, so you have your primary care doctor and then they send you to a bunch of other doctors. And their pediatrician recommended that Ronan go on an extremely limited sugar diet.
Yeah.
So because maybe excess sugar was causing issues. Now, Ronan was not very happy that the other children were not as limited as him in sugar. Now, not being in the house, I don't know how the parents dealt with that disparity.
Mhm.
But it sounds like he acted out because of that, because that was the reason he made a in-class announcement disparaging his sister and calling her all sorts of names, in front of class
Yes.
because he didn't get, I think, whatever snacks, fruit snacks or something.
Yes.
So, one of the videos was him, after having a couple treats throughout the week, he still stole, I believe, chocolate or cookies. I can't remember. So eh, there there's an understanding that a child is rebelling against, lowering sugar. I can understand that. Um, but it's not it's not something that they just did to be mean to him. According to the defense. Now the state says that, you know, they were limiting much more than that. But that's the state side.
Yep.
So that's kind of just extra info.
increasing independence and increasing ability to take care of yourselves, including food choices and learning to feed yourself and prepare foods.
He was a
And this is the
vegetarian.
opposite of what we see with who gets fed separate from the family, and he gets fed.
Now, I do push back a little bit on this because he was showing independence. I mean, he claimed to have gone pescatarian, and that to me shows that he made a conscious choice to alter his eating habits to align with either philosophically with something or for health reasons something.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know exactly why, but he did say that he was a pescatarian at the time because he said something about only having a peanut butter sandwich or something. And the defense asked him if he had any dietary restrictions, and he said, "Oh no, I was a pescatarian at the time." So there's a lot of like I said, there was a lot of exit ramps where the parents and the family could have made so many better choices. And no one's defending their choices, but it's again, where does malice come in and where does the state come in?
Yes.
Typically leftovers. He gets the same breakfast about every morning. It looks like a banana and a piece of bread with some peanut butter smeared on it. So it's really ongoing, another example of the psychological abuse.
Ms. Coakley, before you proceed, let me have counsel sidebar.
Because he got peanut butter with bread on it? Because to be honest with you, a lot of people don't even have that.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. It's just like the little comments that I'm picking up on.
well,
It to me.
it's like
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it's lunchtime, 12:30. We're going to break for lunch for an hour. Be back outside the elevators at,
I
what
know,
time, Mark? 25
I had
after?
to look
That's
up what
sufficient for you?
pescatarian was
20
too. I was like, is that close to Episcopal? I was
I
like, which
look at-
one is that? I was like, no, we're Methodist over here, like King of the Hill. Like we go to Methodist church. We aren't Lutherans. Uh, yeah, I'm
25 after
I'm
1,
glad
and he'll bring you to
someone else
the
had to
jury
look it
room,
up
and
too,
we'll
because I was
shoot
like,
for
what in the
1:30
world is a
sharp start time. Remember
pescatarian?
the same instruction
And
I
how
give
do
you
you
every day.
spell it? Because
Don't talk with
even
anybody about the case. Don't do any research or investigation or
autocorrect
anything
couldn't
like that.
help
Other than
my
that, have a good lunch.
horrible spelling behind.
It's better.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, seriously, sometimes you only have a smear of peanut butter and a piece of bread.
Good as time as any for you to give me a little bit better flavor of the potential Richardson issue that I'm going to have to address.
Yeah, I don't even know fully what she said yet, because I had like that.
So you need some time to look at it and then give me a more coherent explanation as to what you think you want to do. All right. So, all right. So I'll punt right now. I won't do anything, but I am going to want to address it at the earliest opportunity that you've had a chance to look at it. Ms. Murad, you look like you have something for me. You have anything for me?
Well, I can just explain what it is, but I can wait.
Okay, yeah, let Ms. Coakley take a moment to look at it. And all I really need to know for scheduling purposes is there's something I'm going to have to address and rule on. So as soon as you folks come to that determination, let me know, and then I'll do what I have to do as far as scheduling. All right, so we'll be in recess until 1:30.
Look, any diet that takes away my bacon, we're going to have issues.
Mhm.
Back in session, the Honorable Judge Howard Coates presiding.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. You may be seated. All right, all sides ready to proceed with the continuation?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, defense, ready? Okay. All right, you may go ahead and bring the jurors out.
Captain, have fun. I live in the Midwest. If we don't cover it in ranch, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and if it
If
isn't,
it's not a hot dish, casserole, I don't know what it is.
nope.
They're at school. Besides, I'm trying to play catch up. I've only got 30 more minutes until I have to go pick them up. And I was late because one of them forgot their medicine. So, it is what it is. Fry destroyed a Lord, you have to see how he's sleeping. Let me see if I pick the right. What is this? What did I adopt here? I can't even with you people. What is this? It's like Jonestown the morning after. This is how he sleeps every day.
Aw,
Also, David, what's a Richardson's hearing?
yeah.
We have a lawyer question.
Yeah, we have a real question.
I mean, once you're done with your samurais and such.
Once you're done in the chat making your dirty jokes, will you give us real information, please? That's what I was going to say, peace. Because he is a happy, secure little puppy. And that's why he's.
Yes, but we
That's-
are taking him to puppy class next week because my arms cannot take this nipping stage. He literally bites the arm that feeds him, and it's okay. It's a Florida hearing when one side is accused of not turning over something in discovery. Thank you, Sal. Oh, this sounds awesome.
Stop it, crime.
Crime Spies. Now I'm hungry.
I know. Now I want to make a hot dish.
I know. There's not even.
David, what good are you? We'll see his answer. How did you know? I was saying that? I did.
I don't know. Wait, you're supposed to bite them back? I have a feeling that would not work. Fry would probably think that's a game,
Yep.
and my kids would probably think it's a game. And no, I just can see Griffin going around biting people. Be terrible. Look, I don't want to pay for rabies shots after Griffin bites people.
I know, Farrell.
I know. Crime Spies now needs to come over and bake us all hot dish.
Yep.
We're gonna need 30 pounds of ground beef,
All right.
8 cans of noodles, or 8 cans of soup. I figured. And tater tots. All the tater tots.
Yep.
We're going Napoleon Dynamite. I've got some tater tots in my pocket.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
All right, everyone may be seated.
Oh my gosh, I put that
All right,
on
ladies
my
and gentlemen, welcome
thumbnail and I
back. We're
can't
in the
unsee it
middle of
now.
the direct examination of the current witness. So with that, Ms. Coakley, you ready to proceed?
Yes.
All right, you may do so.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Now, I want to talk for a second about the impacts that harsh, cruel, demeaning, and injurious treatment of a child can have. Can that have an impact on the child's view of morality?
Yes, it would be
Wait.
Im-
Are we going to blame the parents for the fact that the child asked if the Holocaust was real? Because I'm pretty sure he did that in Arizona.
Oh God. I don't know.
And the fact that he probably looked up some torture prawn, let's be honest. Because they aren't saying what he looked up, but my guess is either when he alluded to the stuff that he's talking about leads me to believe that he looked up something either genocidal, something or other, or something about a struggling Austrian painter that got everyone really scared.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for all the puppy stuff, because I am learning as I go. I've actually found if I clap, that seems to get his attention for about a second, but he's a goldfish.
important part of how they learn to be moral, responsible human beings. Really,
That's it.
is
Crime Spies is
a big
just
part
coming to
of
my
that
house
is
and being my
modeled by
mom. I've
your
decided
parents.
I don't want to be the mom
So the
anymore. I want someone else to
modeling
mom.
he got was certainly had some serious moral problems, in that it's giving him various messages like violence is okay, and isolating people is okay, and withholding food is
okay.
okay, and
Well, that's not much better.
being choked is okay. Those sort of things.
Uh,
These are the most important role models in your life, or your parents.
Can that create a distorted view of what is morally appropriate behavior?
Very much so. Yes. After months or years of this, it becomes normal to the child, despite how pathological or abnormal it is. They begin to see this as just normal, a normal part of life.
Now,
Now, I do believe that the defense, it was alluded to in the defense opening statements that their expert will look at brain scans because his brain scan will show either atrophy or underdevelopment in the brain centers that have to do with attachment and I think bonding because of the adoption and him being in the orphanage. But I could be wrong on, oh, there you go. Reindeer's right. Just listen to Reindeer. The collective brain of chat is just awesome.
It
I
is.
love it.
Now, can that distortion of appropriateness also extend to the child's view of themselves?
Yes, it can. And one of the ways it might do that is that the child internalizes being treated like this and sees themselves as the bad, responsible one with they have the moral problems. It's their fault that this is happening, clearly, because it keeps happening to them. They think it must be in some way my fault.
Even in situations where there's kind of like pervasive ongoing abuse or trauma inflicted by a parent caregiver, can a child who is subject to that still have affection for the abuser?
Yes, that's very common.
Why does that occur? Or how does that occur, especially in a situation like this?
Some of it is it's built into children that if you provide them care and you take care of them and give them a place to live and feed them and get them to school, that sort of thing, the attachment system does kick in and they connect to that person. They form a bond.
So a child can come away from an abusive situation and still have affection or allegiance to the abuser.
Yeah, that's very, very typical.
Now, I want to talk for a second about stealing as something that it can occur within is that something, a behavior that can result in children that have been subject to abuse or neglect?
Yes, you're stealing, you're talking about.
Stealing,
Yes,
yeah.
and particularly in this case, kids who've had that early psychosocial deprivation and really lack of adequate parenting in their first couple of years of life, or a year and a half in his case.
Is it when a child is exhibiting that type of behavior, especially when there's a known history of some kind of neglect or abuse, is it therapeutic or appropriate treatment to address that behavior to deprive the child of access to some of the items?
You mean which items?
Like if a child is stealing food or candy, if that is something that occurs and that's something that's been noticed, in order to address that behavior therapeutically, what would be the appropriate way to address it?
Well, to try to talk to them about it and try to understand and explore their feelings about why this behavior is continuing, and then help them gain insight into the fact that you did have a very difficult early childhood, and kids like that will have this urge to keep hoarding and taking food, because in the back of their brain and at an instinctual survival level, they're thinking, I've got to keep getting food and hoard it, because at any point I could start going hungry again and there'll be nothing to eat. So to help them gain insight and to then give them interventions, or that's too strong of a word, but then to give them regular snacks and reassure them they're always going to be able to get snacks if they start really feeling that anxiety or need to eat something. So not restrict it, but let them know it's always here, and make that a reality. Not that you are going to have them eat 5 Big Macs a day, but you'd have to tailor what sort of meals and snacks you'd let them have.
Can that type of hoarding and inclination and kind of compulsive to get food, can that occur even in children that are otherwise well fed and maybe not like starving, who've had the previous trauma?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Now, is limiting or severely controlling a child's access to food and snacks and water, is that something that is a therapeutic treatment for this type of behavioral problem?
It's counter therapeutic. It goes against the treatment, because you're teaching them it's true. Those very sort of primitive feelings you have that there's not enough to eat and food may not always be accessible, you're now keeping it a reality, instead of helping them get over that insecurity.
And so when you say it's counter therapeutic, does that mean that it can make the behaviors actually worse?
Yes.
Overruled.
Does that mean that it could increase, or would that have what kind of impact would it have on the behaviors?
It reinforces it. It might increase it. It may just keep it, sustain it. It depends on the child, but I would not predict that would make it any better at all.
Now, you mentioned social deprivation and cognitive deprivation. What are those things?
So children really of any age, and probably it's true for adults too, but they need consistent caregiving. They need nurturance. They need support. They need affection. They need to be held or hugged. They need to be shown empathy so that they know that their needs are recognized and being met, so they can develop confidence and emotional security in themselves. So the pathological care would be really the opposite of those things.
What do you mean that the pathological care?
Well, the kind of parenting that you wouldn't want to see for a child who's come from this sort of early deprivation is care that wouldn't be supportive and consistent and nurturing and affectionate.
The type of care that you saw that occurred between January, that's on the videos between January 5th and January 28th, will you characterize that as supportive, caring, empathetic care?
No, I would see it as the opposite of those.
Okay, how would you describe it?
Unempathic, mean, frightening, not in any way trying to recognize what's going on with the child, but just for imposing your will in a harsh disciplinary fashion.
Now, Dr. Murray, are you saying that like a parent can't yell at a child?
No, not at all.
Are you saying that a parent can't discipline a child if they do something that they behave in a way that's inappropriate?
No, you have to discipline children in an appropriate way, sure, for issues, misbehaviors.
Are you saying that a parent can't punish a child if they do something that requires punishment?
Prefer to use the term discipline. Punishment has somewhat of a negative connotation, but you could look at it as punishment, I suppose, if it's reasonable and mild.
Okay, so what is more appropriate and also developmentally appropriate for a child of this age, you would characterize as discipline? Discipline is more appropriate than punishment for a child, a 14-year-old child of this age?
Yes.
What's the difference, I guess, between what is appropriate and then what is harmful?
The simple answer would be what's in the best interest of the child, and is what you're doing, whatever it is it going to help the child learn why their behavior was not good? Is going to help give them ideas or ways to not engage in this behavior in the future, give them alternatives, to turn it into a learning experience.
I know. I kind of want to give him a Griffin think it over.
Yeah.
I mean, I get everything he's saying. I get everything he's saying, and it sounds. I am not disputing anything he's saying.
But he's picking worst case scenarios.
A
lot of could be, would be.
When faced with a shirtless feral Griffin, hyped up on pure sugar because one day he went into the sugar store. We have a giant storage pantry downstairs, and decided to give himself a half cup of sugar for breakfast, just pure Colombian white sugar lines for breakfast, That was a fun day. What gentle, loving, discipline, cotton wool thing was I supposed to tell him when he was jumping up the walls and, trying to be Spider-Man? I need a Griffin think it over time for him. I just need to know what's going on, because maybe he's right and this totally does work, and I have just been doing this. I was supposed to give him more sugar, just throw more sugar packets at him.
Yeah.
Like ants.
Hope that
Here's a Splenda.
to go to sleep, to take a nap.
Here's some go-go juice, like freaking what's-her-face, Honey Boo Boo.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lord.
at the same time, with enough of discipline that it does get their attention if you think it needs it. I mean, some kids, they get a harsh word from a parent and they're good to go for a year. Other kids need a lot more hands-on intervention. It depends on the child's temperament and personality.
Now, I want to talk
Investigate.
about kind of the impact that cognitive deprivation or intellectual deprivation can have on a child's creation of their own identity. How does that impact that?
It's sort of a couple different things, two different things here, but the deprivation has actually been shown in longer term studies to lower children's IQ, their IQ scores. So their intelligence level doesn't rise as high as somebody who isn't deprived or mistreated over the years.
Now, in cases where children are subject to cognitive deprivation or intellectual deprivation, do you see instances of that child engaging in fantasy or lying? Or can you see that?
Yes.
Why does that happen?
Some kids will start engaging in fantasy thinking and make up stories, and it's a coping mechanism to try to sort of fill the void of having so little mental stimulation or intellectual
Sounds
or
about
cognitive
right.
outlets. So they then begin creating their own stories and fantasies to sort of fill that hole.
Now, I want to talk about a child expressing frustration and anger. Is a child expressing frustration and anger the same thing as violence necessarily?
No, not at all. But violence would be one sliver of children who are frustrated and angry. Some will act violently.
Now, during the course of the review of some of the videos, did you see a few videos where Ronan is expressing inside the room frustration or anger?
Yes. Or a great deal of emotional pain that he doesn't know how else to release, it seems like.
You saw
Then when
it
he
in a
starts
video.
just like tearing the posters off the wall or
Didn't
kicking his Legos around.
Now, just generally, outside of the specific facts of this case, is something like kicking Legos or screaming in frustration or tearing posters off the wall is for a 14-year-old child. Is that like a clinically significant type of anger or frustration just in general if a 14-year-old does that?
In and of itself, that's not necessarily a pathological or a behavior or some sign of serious mental illness. If it's infrequent and the child has really had a terribly, say, frustrating experience or something, they might come home and kick something on the floor. But no, in and of itself, no.
Could it be a completely normal expression of frustration or anger in a 14-year-old boy
It could be, yes.
to react to maybe some kind of adverse experience or just whatever frustration it is?
Yes.
Now, in this type of situation, does that being in that situation, locked in the room alone and having that type of response, does that tell you anything about how he's dealing with the trauma of the situation?
Well, he's only got a limited number of things he can do with all this angst and emotional pain and the effects of this mistreatment building up and building up. It's got to come out somehow. It always comes out one way or another in human beings. And it seems like in him, the only sort of outlets he's really got are to kind of throw things around or kick whatever's in the room that's left. He did become suicidal a couple times from it as well.
So the
Which would be
only
another way that you could get those sort of feelings. Unfortunately,
Wait,
a way to.
how did
method
you know
to
that
get
he
those out
became
or
suicidal?
deal with
I
them.
thought he just looked at video. Did he do a forensic interview? Chat? Well, maybe they'll go in and say, I've got about 6 more minutes, so we'll have to pick this up tomorrow.
in the room itself, the only control he has is over the immediate items in the room.
Sustain, rephrase, counsel.
In the room itself, what does he have the capacity or the agency to control?
What did he have?
Yeah, about his physical environment.
Well, very little, because he's in a box, and essentially the only other things in there are a bed and a sheet and a pillow and a desk. And I believe towards the end, again, one book.
Now, at some point, there might be some discussion in this case about more specific situations when a child has more specific behavioral needs than an ordinary child, or and we might discuss reactive attachment disorder. Are you familiar with what that is?
Oh, yes, I am.
What is it?
It's a diagnosis, a condition where a child is deprived, usually during the first 2 or 3 years at least of their life and earlier, of consistent, supportive, appropriate parenting. So they don't have regular nurturance or contact with a caregiver, a parent. So they don't have the chance to sort of form secure attachments to a parent or two, which is what they're programmed to do.
And then, so something has to occur, just so I'm understanding you correctly, something has to occur early in life that makes it difficult for that where they weren't able to form an attachment.
Oh, Indigo, we've been saying that all
Yes,
trial.
they're not having a responsive, tender care. They're being left alone for long periods of time. When they are fed, it might just be with a bottle a few times a day. Otherwise, they're left laying there unattended or with very little stimulation. And this results in their brain not developing properly, their emotional system not developing properly. Even physically, they don't grow as well. And moreover, their head size isn't even necessarily as big as isn't the size that that it should be.
Well,
Now, in a child who does have an attachment disorder, is a child with this disorder necessarily violent towards themselves or others? Is that like something that always happens?
That's not actually a diagnostic criteria for reactive attachment disorder. Violence is not even one of the defining criteria or criterion of that.
Is there generally accepted, if a child does have some type of attachment disorder and specifically reactive attachment disorder, is there generally accepted therapeutic interventions within the scientific community to address that?
The main treatment that has been shown to work is to get the child out of the problematic, uncaring environment, the pathological environment, as quick as possible, and put them with either a foster family or a stable relative or have them adopted into a good parenting situation. I mean, that's the treatment, and get them back on a normal course of development.
And so we're talking about a good parenting situation. Do you mean stable, nurturing, that addresses the child's needs?
Yes.
Now,
That works, and the majority of children with RAD, reactive attachment disorder, have substantially diminished or even resolution of their RAD symptoms over time.
Is it considered therapeutically acceptable or appropriate to isolate, confine, or deprive a child who might have a history that lends them to having an attachment disorder?
No, it's just what you wouldn't want to do to a child with reactive attachment disorder, because that isolation and lack of contact and lack of affection are the things that created it in the first place. So you want to undo that by doing the opposite to the child. With good parenting.
Would it exacerbate any attachment issues if they were there to treat a child like Ritter was treated?
Yes, it would. Yes, it wouldn't. Yes, simple answer.
Now, what about a child? You mentioned that, one of the, in your opinion, there were some indications that there was a complex post-traumatic stress disorder indicated here.
Yes.
Would this type of treatment in any way address or help a child with post-traumatic stress disorder?
Well, no, I believe that's the cause of him having post-traumatic stress disorder is the abusive treatment that he received.
Now, would this type of treatment worsen the behavior or increase symptoms?
Yes,
Now, did you, as part of this case, have the opportunity to review a deposition given by a Dr. Rappa?
I did.
And she made some opinions about this case as well, correct?
She did, yes.
Did you agree with any of the opinions that Dr. Rappa made?
I did. In particular, she did describe the behaviors that I was experiencing and the punishment, the isolation, the abuse as inappropriate and unacceptable. She referred to having complex post-traumatic stress disorder, partly from his experiences in Vietnam when he was in the orphanage, but I don't believe that would really add up, because PTSD is from being traumatized, be it physical abuse or a car accident or being caught in a hurricane or whatever it might be, or seeing something terrible happen to a family member. But being neglected and left alone doesn't cause
Oh.
post-traumatic stress disorder. So I saw nothing in the records that he had experienced
Let me see if I can get
any
him
early
back on.
traumas in his first couple of years of life when he was in Vietnam, year and a half.
So you would be in agreement with Dr. Rappa that there are indicators that the victim in this case has experienced trauma.
Definitely, yes.
The source of that trauma is a little bit of a disagreement, if I'm understanding you correctly.
If I'm understanding her deposition correctly, yes.
But would you agree with her her opinion that regardless of the source of the trauma, this is not the way that a child with PTSD should be treated?
Well, right, because you're continuing to inflict the trauma on the child, and the PTSD comes from the trauma. So you're just doing nothing but worsening the child's PTSD with more and more of the same traumatic experiences.
I think we talked about in general a child that this would be harmful. If a child has specific, because of their history, has behavioral issues or maybe even a medical diagnosis, does that change whether or not this is an appropriate type of punishment for a child?
I can't come up with any kind of explanation that would justify the treatment and went through as appropriate.
The fact that there might be indications that because of his history and because of his treatment that he was, vulnerable or psychologically complex, does that increase the risk to him psychologically to be subjected to this type of treatment?
Yes, above and beyond being especially vulnerable, given he is a child.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Interesting. So there's a difference between the PTSD. That's very good to know, because we are not, I am not an expert.
Yeah.
It's not in my wheelhouse. Not my bailiwick, as it were.
Yes, that would even increase the risk more.
That's all the questions I have.
Cross?
Okay, guys, I'm going to pause it here because I do have, in about 7 minutes, I have to go pick up the boy children and then gently parent them to do their homework. Gently,
You better.
kindly, with nice, sweet words.
Sweet words.
Not sit down. You cannot take a 15-minute breaks after you write your name.
That's so. Oh, that's glorious.
Like, I did part of it. Can I have a break? Can I have a snack? Can I go use the restroom? Like, no, if you would just do your homework, you'd be done in 10 minutes. It's all
Right.
these breaks, sir. But I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, and we will hopefully get this done. I do want to see I wouldn't ever. Although, okay, you guys, no joke, but if you guys just put me in a quiet room for 8 hours, that would be a vacation for me. It's odd how punishments change. Like,
When you had
uh,
when you were little,
I
now
know,
give me a nap, please. Send me to it.
I know. I told Mr. Mo, I was like, "Can you ground me?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "I don't." Oh no, I will be doing Newsy News. I just meant for this particular trial, you will see me tomorrow. I will same bat time, same bat place. Hopefully no drama or shenanigans. I know, send me to my room. I was like, "I don't want to go to the mall. Ground me, please."
On me, so maybe I took a nap. Oh,
So, thank you all for joining me. Thank you for being so respectful in the comments and allowing us to disagree, but agree and be kind to each other and being awesome to each other. So, thank you so much for making this stream seem like it was really short and really awesome. So, thank you. I appreciate it so much. I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.